So believe it or not, one of the most asked questions that I get on this YouTube channel is, what camera do I use? And I understand you guys' curiosity because I do a lot of things around the city. I'm always on the go. I film myself at the coffee shop, getting on the subway, running errands, hanging out with my friends. I'm always trying to capture those little moments of life and share them with you guys in a very authentic and genuine way. And I understand why you may be curious to know, how do I do all of this? So today I'm actually going to compare two of my favorite vlogging cameras, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 that I have actually owned for about a year now, and the Insta360 GO Ultra that they kindly sent me a few weeks ago. I can't wait to show you and share some of the things that I've been filming with it. This video is sponsored by Insta360, but I'm not here to decide whether there's one that is overall better than the other. I think it comes down to the type of content that you want to make, to your style, to your preferences. So today we're going to go through all of these things. So at the end of this video, you can decide for yourself which of these cameras is best suited for you. So first and foremost, let's start with some basic specs. Both of these cameras can shoot in 4K, so you get really good quality with both of these cameras. The one big difference is the lens. The Osmo Pocket 3 is going to be a wide lens, but it's the equivalent of a 20mm. It's not going to be as wide as the GO Ultra, which has a really wide angle, which you'll see in some of the shots that I'm going to show you. So the Pocket 3 is going to be generally a little bit more close-up and cinematic, while the Insta360 is going to allow you to have these very immersive shots and just overall includes more of your surroundings and environment. One other key difference is that the Osmo Pocket 3 allows you to shoot in a flat profile, which is called log for DJI. It basically means that with the Osmo Pocket 3, you'll be able to color grade, and that's how I personally like to make my videos look a little bit more cinematic. But if you're a beginner, you might not even really care about that first. With the Insta360, you could still color grade, but because you're not shooting in a flat profile, you just might not have as much depth and flexibility. The Osmo Pocket 3 is also significantly heavier than the Insta360. This camera is about 180 grams. This one, once you take it off the pod, which is totally perfectly usable without the pod, is 53 grams. In terms of durability, the Insta360 is a lot more durable. First of all, because of the fact that it's so small, if it falls, it won't get damaged that much. It's very sturdy and compact. Whereas the Osmo Pocket 3 is a lot more delicate just because of the gimbal. You know, I don't know, I'm constantly terrified of dropping it. And it does come with a case, but if it doesn't have the case, when you're using it, it can fall. The gimbal is very tricky. So you have to be a lot more careful with it. And then when it comes to portability, the Insta360 has the edge. Although this is still a really small camera and I do fit it in a lot of my purses and bags, it doesn't fit in my pocket, for example. Whereas this one, once you detach it from the pod, you can really take it anywhere. And again, you don't need the pod to operate it. You can actually connect it to the app on your phone. I have done that multiple times, either because the pod was dead or I left the pod at home, and I'll just connect it to my phone and, you know, record with just that. Then one last very important factor before we get into the shot-by-shot comparison is the price. So for the Insta360, the creator bundle, which comes with all the accessories that I'm going to talk about in this video, comes out to $499, whereas the Osmo Pocket 3 is significantly more expensive at $799 for just the camera and $949 for the whole creator combo. I actually believe that the price went up since when I bought it last year by like $100. So The Insta360 is a lot more affordable, and if you're just getting started, the barrier of entry is definitely lower with the Insta360. Also, the Go Ultra is currently on sale for Black Friday, and the first 10 people who use my link will get a 256 gigs SD card, which is a lot of gigs. So if you're already decided on this one, definitely head down to the description and get yourself a nice little Black Friday gift. One of the biggest questions that you should ask yourself before buying either of these cameras is, how comfortable am I with filming in public? Despite everything else I'm gonna mention in this video, if you're someone who is either getting started or just really shy or really uncomfortable with filming in public, the Osmo Pocket 3, it's not very discreet. When you're using it in public, it looks like a little robot head. It gets a lot of looks. I personally don't care that much what people think, but I know it took me a minute to get there. And when I first started my YouTube channel a year and a half ago, I would have loved to have the Go Ultra instead, because sometimes there were shots that I just didn't take because I felt uncomfortable or too shy to even get this out. So that is one big important factor if you're trying to choose. Okay, so now let's get to the part of the video that you care about the most, looking at comparing the shots of these two cameras. So the first thing you do a lot as a vlogger is walk and talk. For the Pocket 3 with the gimbal, you get really great stabilization. The 20mm Leica lens captures your face and frames your face pretty well. For that reason, it looks a little bit more cinematic, and it can be more ideal for longer walk and talks bits, just because you don't have to think about stabilizing and having the right angle as you're holding it. With the Insta360, you're getting a more immersive view. You get so much more of your environment with you. And if you're not vlogging by yourself, if you're with friends, for example, you can fit a lot more people into the frame due to the wide angle. Now, when we're talking about filming not you, but the environment, so let's say you're walking down the street and you want to film that. Although the Osmo Pocket 3 has the gimbal and the stabilization, you do kind of get that bopping look when you're walking, unless you're intentionally trying to walk really slow and really smooth. Whereas with the Insta360, because you have such a wide angle, it actually does an incredible job at stabilizing. And I have found that when I'm just like filming the street as I'm walking, it really doesn't have as much of that bouncy bobbing effect. Now let's talk about creative angles and POV. That is where the Go Ultra kind of shows all of its superpowers and where it really shines. First of all, the biggest selling point of this camera is the magnetic mount. You can basically mount this camera on anything that is magnetic. If you live in New York City like me, there's so many things around the city that you could just stick this on and film yourself, and you're really able to get those shots that look so genuine and so authentic of just you existing in the city. It really feels like whoever is watching your videos is right there with you. The good thing with this is that you're not really dependent on having to put your camera on a surface, and that also means that you can get the best angle, the best lighting. With the DJI, when I was doing this comparison, I often had to put it on surfaces, which first of all is kind of tricky because I'm always kind of scared that someone is just gonna like walk by and grab it and go, so it's a little risky. And also, you're fully dependent on finding a surface that is facing the light the right way, getting the angle the right way, that's not too low, not too high. So it just limits you a little bit in your creativity. When we were filming for this video, we also went to Domino Park that has this massive old like manufacturer structure, and we were able to get so many fun shots. And again, when comparing to the Pocket 3, there's just more that you can do with this camera. So if you're looking for something that is more experimental, if you're someone who's really creative and really want to test those boundaries with the angles, this is definitely the camera for you. So with the Go Ultra, you'll get that necklace, the magnetic necklace, which is so amazing for capturing those POV shots. I have been loving this because you can literally just wear it and capture moments that you would have never dared to. Like when we were out and about, I was just wearing this when we were ordering coffee, and I would never be able to order coffee while holding this. Even as someone who is not shy and does not care, I still don't want to be holding my camera into someone's face. Whereas this is very discreet. I mean, right now I'm wearing a light gray sweater, but let's say I was wearing something darker, people don't really pay that much attention. With the accessories that you get with this, you can also do very fun shots. Like you can stick it to the ceiling to do those overhead shots. I used it so many times to take shots of me cooking, so I'll just stick it to the hood above my stove. Now let's talk about more static and cinematic shots. Starting with the Pocket 3, it does have a larger sensor and it does have that log flat profile. So like I said at the beginning of this video, it's definitely going to allow you to have that more film cinematic look, which I personally love for my videos, but that's not the case of every vlogger. Some people prefer that less worked, less modified, more realistic look. I like to make my average life kind of look like a movie a little bit. So that's where I sometimes prefer the Pocket 3. With the more narrow angle of the Pocket 3, you also get that look of having something in focus and a blurred background, especially when you're doing a close-up of an object. You can also, when it comes to like food and beverages, if you take really close-up looks, you'll see that the Pocket 3 can capture a lot of details. Whereas with the Go Ultra, you'll lose and get that kind of like blurry effect if you get too close to an object just because of that really wide angle. So in this case, the Go Ultra is going to be having more of that documentary style, and you're going to lose a little bit of that subject focus look. Even when we were taking shots of us walking by, things like that, I just feel like with the Pocket 3, because it's a more narrow angle, you're just a little bit more focused on us than with the wider angle with the Go Ultra. Now let's quickly talk about the zoom. So the Go Ultra does have 2x zoom, 2x, I forgot what it's called, with 4K, and so does the Pocket 3. With the Pocket 3, you kind of have to use the joystick and like switch between, the joystick basically is for adjusting the gimbal, like if you want to be looking up or down, but it's also going to be used for the zoom, but you need to like hit something on the screen. It's not like super practical. It does take a little bit of getting used to. Now I feel like I've gotten used to it, that I do it pretty naturally, but it's not as user-friendly. With the Go Ultra, you just click 2x on the screen and it will do it immediately. And you're still shooting in 4K. So you still won't get as much of that focal point, but you can get closer to the thing and kind of get out of that super wide angle view. And last but not least, let's talk about low light settings. So if you're someone who wants to shoot when you're out and about at night, when you're going out with your friends, things like that, just at nighttime in general, which I do sometimes, although I feel like I do most of my vlogging during the day. For low light settings, the Pocket 3 does have a little bit of the edge because it has a larger sensor, so it can just capture more of that light and you lose less in quality. And if you're shooting in log with the flat profile, you can also have more flexibility in post-production and edit it so it's not as dark, whereas you can't really do that as much with the Go Ultra. So you'll get a little bit more cleaner edges and details with the Pocket 3 and low lights. However, the Go Ultra does have this mode called Pure Video that is specifically tailored for low light and will help with the quality of the image. Also, the fact that the camera has a really wide angle is just more forgiving for the details. It's hard to explain, but it will kind of help with hiding those imperfections. To be completely honest, I don't think that either of these cameras do great in low lights. It's just generally really hard to film in low lights. I never recommend it unless you have an actual source of light. If it's at nighttime, because unless you have a cinema camera, it's really hard to ever capture anything without lights. Literally the whole point of photography and videography is getting the light right. So I would say neither of these cameras are gonna fully win there. It's just more about one is less worse than the other. But that is pretty much all the information that you needed to know to make your decision about which camera you should be getting as a vlogger, as a potential vlogger, as someone who maybe is willing to get started. My final thoughts is that I honestly think both of these cameras are amazing and have endless possibilities. I personally use both and I use them at different times and for different reasons. But if you had to choose, I would say the GO Ultra is better for candid shots and getting those immersive views and experiences for your viewers. It's more relatable and more approachable, especially if you're trying to capture life as it happens. And it's also a better camera, not only if you're trying to film discreetly, but also if you're trying to live in the moment more. And that is priceless. The Pocket 3 is better if you're trying to romanticize your daily life in a way that feels more put together and cinematic. Basically, if you're trying to make your average life look like a movie. That's something that I personally love doing, but I do have to admit that it does take a lot of setting up, and what you're seeing that I'm putting together as my average regular life takes a lot of setup, and I'm not necessarily living it the way that you're seeing it. Although I do have to say, as someone who loves color grading, I gotta say I love that about that camera. So anyway, I really hope that this video helped you decide which camera will be best for you depending on the type of stories you want to tell. At the end of the day, it's all about that. It's all about your personal style. If you're convinced by the GO Ultra, don't forget to check the description for that link so you can get that Black Friday sale and that free SD card. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope that it helped you make a decision, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.